Hey, everybody, welcome to the Wild Arrow Outdoors podcast. My name is Steve. I'm flying solo this one. The other guys are tied up on some hunting trips, which that's a good thing. And with me today, we have Doug Kyle. Doug is a senior known pro archer. After talking with Doug for a little bit, also found out he's got a pretty extensive background in other shooting sports as well. But Doug, welcome to the podcast and appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, world champion skeet shooter as well. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was in 2017. So, um,
All American college shotgun shooter,
yep, All
world
American.
world champion skeet.
Yep, several state teams in skeet. I shot a lot of orange targets. Burned a lot of powder.
So I know you and I have talked briefly before we started the recording, but archery can be a whole lot cheaper than shotgun shooting.
Oh yes, yes. And that was one of the things that we didn't talk about was the cost. 'Cause I get so tickled that people talk about how expensive bows are and our arrows and our equipment and what have you. Uh, Look, I've got a $30,000 shotgun sitting over here in my gun safe. It's a tool. It's an absolute tool that we use on the shotgun field. Is it a beautiful gun? Absolutely. I mean, it's got Turkish walnut. The stock's made for me. I could hand it to you and you couldn't shoot it.
Right.
It's made for me. But that's what it takes to be at a professional level in that game. Is that equipment? So I do get tickled because everyone talks about how expensive archery is, and I'm always like, well, this is cheap.
Yes.
you know, and you've got money in reloaders because you're going to shoot the 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 28 and 410. So you're going to have four loaders, 12, 20, 28 and 410. And if you've got mech hydraulics, you know the list just goes on and on with the cost of shooting sports. So I just get tickled a little bit sometimes, and I feel very, very um, gifted and honored to be where I'm at with my archery shooting for the length of time that I would consider myself a professional archer.
So how long have you been shooting professional archery?
Well, I started shooting again in 2019, and I have been what I would consider on the pro side of archery for 2 years.
Okay.
So this was my second year. And, and so to be in it just that short of time, I feel very blessed. And to have met the people I've met, just like in shotgun sports, the archery community, there's some really great people in the archery community. They want to see you succeed. They want to help you succeed. Um, and that I kind of laugh sometimes because everybody talks about your mental game. You got to work on your mental game. Well, I shot enough, in the shotgun world. I feel like my mental game um, is there now. There are other people that will tell you uh, Doug Kyle wears his emotions on his sleeve. I do. I do wear my emotions on my sleeve. Pretty much like someone else we know, Tim Gillingham, wears his emotions on his sleeve. Now I don't throw my bow down on the ground and have tantrums like that. It's usually my speech that gets in the way. So I've had to really work, even in the shotgun shooting sports. I worked very hard not to wear my emotions on my sleeve. But I'm a competitor, and I'm a competitor at heart, and I want to be in the top. I don't want to be just a competitor. I want to be competing for number one. And so I do wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I'm not saying it's always good, but I try to work very hard on doing that. And can you improve on that? Absolutely, a person can improve on that. And um, Metropolis is a great example of that this year. I was so ready for Metropolis. I was shooting in here at the house. I mean, I put on a tournament every month here, and my tournament is always the weekend before ASA. And I'm going to say that I have one of the stoutest courses in the state of Missouri. I mean, my 50-yard stake is a 46-yard average, so it's set up for a pro course, and it's got footing. Um, it's got targets like you would see out in London, so it's got a little bit of everything. And I was really shooting very well to go to Metropolis, and I was really excited because I knew that I was going to be able to go out there and really compete this time. Well, that Doug decided to stay at home, and the other Doug got in the truck and went to Metropolis. And I got out there, and on Friday, it was just a complete disaster. And I was shooting with Charlie Rogers, and my release went off. Just a few targets later, we had a 46-yard target, and I set my sight for 36. And you know what happened there. And there wasn't even nothing you could do other than just laugh and go, you nincompoop.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
So I was very proud and very happy of the moment, because Charlie Rogers, as many people may know, he was a professional baseball player. And I've shot with Charlie before, and we've known each other a little bit, and we talk at tournaments and what have you. But he come up to me and he goes, "Hey, very proud of you. You're handling it just like a professional should. You just laugh it off and you got to go on." And I looked at Charlie and I said, "Charlie, we got a bunch of hay down. I need to be baling hay, and you will not see me tomorrow." and I did. That's the only tournament I've ever left. And that's the only thing I could do. I was just like, well, it is what it is. And even on my way home, Hulbert and we were talking, and he goes, "I can't believe you left." And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to make that up. And he goes, "Well, no, but you could have got the up points." He goes, "You could have got the re-up money." He goes, "All you had to do was just show up and you'd have got that." And I was like, well, oh, well, I got hay to bale. And I did. I came home and I jumped in the tractor and baled hay for 3 days straight. So you do have to work on stuff. And that's the one thing that I have to work on. And you have to be a better person, and you want to be a better person at the end of each day, because you want your sponsors to be proud and be able to say, "Hey, that guy's on our team," and you want to be able to be proud and say, "Hey, I'm on that team with those people."
So I can say, as somebody that shoots at the amateur level, I'm definitely not at your level, and 99% of the people I hang out with are at the amateur level, and I'm talking the ASA tournaments. When I'm talking about this,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I see a lot of people that feel like they could never get to a professional level because they made a mistake. And I've
No,
made the comment in the past that pros make mistakes too. And they're like, "No, they don't, man. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. They don't make mistakes."
we
And
make mistakes every day, but what you have to be able to do as a pro is, when Pro A makes a mistake, Pro B needs to be ready to take advantage of that mistake that was just
yeah,
made. And that's other than the entry fee, the money, that's really the difference between an amateur and a pro, is you've got to be able to take advantage when those mistakes are made. It's just like going into the shoot down. I mean, I've made several of the shoot downs as a pro, and I go in 5th place. I'm competing for number 1. I've already made 5th, so there's only one way to go, and that's up from there.
yeah.
You can't go down
You
from
can't
there.
go to number 6, right?
No, right. So, and people know that I'm going to shoot for 14s. I mean, They just know it, and I practice them too. I'm out on the practice range, and I'll shoot. I'm an upper guy. I play the upper game, and I'll shoot quite a few targets, and then I'll I'll shoot at the 14s, because you got to know where they are just as well as where the uppers are. So if you do, and when you get in that situation, you're comfortable aiming out there in that risk reward area.
All right, now I need to
And
ask you another
honestly, I would
question.
like what
What
was go ahead.
what let's I wasn't planning on going down this rabbit hole, but here we go. So you say you shoot uppers. Um a lot of people won't shoot uppers, or it's rare that they would call an upper. The only time they would call an upper is if too many arrows are in the way or something like that. Then that's the only thing they have left open.
Yeah,
What's your motive or your thought process on playing the upper game?
I just aim up there better. I see them better. There's lots of times I actually see the rings. Um, a lot of the guys shoot the lowers, so the lower's always full. So a couple of years ago, I decided that I need to learn how to play the upper game, and I am starting to see more people shoot at the uppers. Um, there's just some of the targets just have a little more room for error uh, at the upper, where some of the targets, the error of margin at the lower, it's pretty minimal, and you could be out just a little bit and be a 5 rather than an 8. Um, so that's why I did it, and I'm have shot the uppers now for a couple of years. I'm very comfortable with it. There's a lot of targets that I mean, I don't need to glass them to know where it is, because I know where it
Yep.
is. I'm glassing the target to see where the other arrows are located. Is there a spot uh, that you can pick out that you need to be aiming at or go off of? That's what I'm really looking for. I'm not saying it always works, but that's what I'm looking for.
Well, you have to have a
So
plan. But
you do have to have a plan, and
I
you gotta be not afraid of your plan. Don't be afraid of your plan. You gotta stick to your plan, and uh, you know, next year we're going to a 60-yard maximum. Great, I'm all for it. Uh, the same guys are going to be at the top that are at the top now. Uh, I really don't think it's going to change anything in that instance. It's going to move things around in the middle of the field. I do believe that. But the same guys who excel at the 50-yard maximum are going to excel at the 60-yard maximum. Um, is it going to make a javelina or a wolverine look that much better at 60 yards? Uh, no, it's not. Especially if you're at London at 7:30 in the morning on a javelina at 60
oh,
yards. I hope someone brought a mirror so we can stand out behind and reflect a little light down the lane, because you're not going to be able to see the thing. you know, uh, but I'm all for the 60-yard. I'm happy we're doing something. But like I say, the same guys are still going to be at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the day.
so I didn't know. I mean, I've heard I've not even had it confirmed. I just heard rumors that there's going to be a 60, but I didn't know if that was going to be in the senior known pro or just in the known pro class.
Well, we were sent a email out that it was going to be all pro classes. So if it's
Oh,
saying all pro classes, I'm assuming, because we are a pro class.
even in the
So
unknowns.
I'm assuming that's my understanding.
Oh
It
wow,
said
boy, that
all
could be a
pro
game changer.
classes. It,
Boy,
it very well
judging
could.
at 55, 56 yards, well, that could be tough.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and I could be way wrong
Wow,
on that. It may not be the unknown classes, but I know in our class it said all pro classes. So,
gotcha.
um, and
So
I
hey, well,
think
the
it's fine.
reason yeah, it's going to be interesting, be fun to see. Um,
Yeah.
the reason I originally bugged you about jumping on the podcast with me is Doug has his own archery shop, does work for other customers. And as we're approaching the hunting season, I wanted to pick his brain a little bit on bow tuning. Um, I think there's if we start talking on the hunting side of things right now, I think there's a couple different problems a lot of people have. One is the guy that put his bow in the case when season ended last year, and he hasn't even pulled it out and dusted it off yet. That's that's going to
Well,
be a form problem or a shooter problem. But as somebody that works in a shop and sees a lot of bows, what's some of the issues you see with equipment that happens? Would you say is some of the bigger
uh,
issues that people have?
just misuse of equipment, um, trying to fix something that they really don't have a idea of how it operates in the first place. Um, Trying to move parts that they shouldn't be moving, um, and it can be as simple as string and cable replacement. Well, I've had this bow for 10 years and I've never had an issue. When was the last time you replaced your string and cables? Oh, never. I don't know. Maybe we should start there. Some people just think they'll last forever. Or um,
I
they've
laugh
tried to
because I
set it up.
saw that. I saw that a couple days ago. I was in my local shop, and there was a guy in there that was asking questions about his bow, and the guy's like, "This bow is pretty old. When's the last time you changed your strings?" He goes, "I never have."
Oh yeah,
And so he's like, "Well, you think I should change them?" And this is the guy getting ready to go on a hunting trip. You think I should change my strings? And they looked at it and went, "I don't think I'd shoot this thing with the way your strings look."
right. Yeah, and you do see that. I mean, some of them it's like, oh my goodness, I don't even want to pull it back in my shop here because we may have pieces fly off.
Yep.
And I mean, like us for example. I mean, uh, I go through several sets every year. Uh, of course, we're not the norm. We're shooting, you
Yep.
know, 100 plus arrows multiple days a week, and so we're constantly replacing stuff. The average guy, um, does need to get their equipment out. Uh, like in Missouri here, our season starts September the 15th. Well, let's not wait till September the 1st to get that out. Let's get it out in, the first part of June or the middle part of June, and let's be practicing and shooting because ultimately, as a hunter, it's our responsibility to make a clean, crisp shot to harvest the animal respectfully. And if you're not doing that, then the odds of you doing that are not good. Now, can it be done? Absolutely. Sure, it can. But people need to be practicing and taking that stuff out and working with their equipment. And then don't be, they want to move their cams or probably the thing that I see the most of, and it happens right here in my shop. People just set their bow down on the concrete floor or they set it down outside and then they wonder why their cam is messed up. That's a tool. Your cam needs to be smooth to operate correctly, and setting it down like that, I mean, you can damage the cam, bend the cam. There's all kinds of things that can happen, and whenever you do that, now you're affecting the performance. So take pride and care of your equipment. It is your equipment. You're expecting to take it out into the woods and have a one-time opportunity at maybe the largest animal you've ever seen in your life. So you want to have that equipment performing best. And people move things, and um, the you see all kinds of things. Uh, or they've had it apart and put it back together backwards. Well,
Oh,
it was shooting, and now I can't get it to pull back. It won't pull back at all, and they've got their cams reversed so that it doesn't pull at all. So you have to take it apart and you put it back together and show them, look, don't be doing this at home anymore.
So walk through, like, if you take a let's just start with a new bow instead of working on somebody else's, because there could be multitude of issues with a bow that somebody's already shooting. But if you get a new bow, a new hunting bow, and you're going to set it up, can you walk through the processes that you do, from everything from like putting the rest on, putting sights on, checking timing, tuning? What's that look like for you?
Yep. So I do. I get the bow out of the box, and I like to have the customer here whenever they get their bow, and then we're gonna first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check their draw length. They may say they're 29 inches. Well, let's check it and let's make for sure, and let's get you the right draw length because then you're going to perform at your optimum best. So we get that set, and then after that, I tie on a D loop and I tie it loose so that you can move it up and down the string, and then I put the rest on. And depending upon the arrow that they're shooting, like a gold tip arrow, for example, I like to knock them high. Ultra arrows, same thing. I like to knock them just a little high. The gold tip, I knock higher than the ultra arrow, but the ultra arrow, just for me and the way I set stuff up, I prefer it to be just a shade knock high.
Okay,
And
why is that? Because
well, it
I think there's
just
a couple different theories on it. One is based off of the different arrow, how you're going to do it, and the other one is put your D loop dead center between your cams.
well to me, whenever you're knocked high a little bit, when you're at full draw, your arrow is now sitting level, and when it is released, it's coming off level. So therefore, um, your impact to me, it doesn't ride down on your wrist. I know you can't see my hand much. I
So
talk with my
so
hands a
so
lot.
so when you say knocked a little high, how much are you talking? Like, if you had to put a ballpark measurement on that. And again, every bow is going to be different.
Oh,
We
I,
understand that, but
I don't have a ballpark measurement. My eyeballs tell me,
I mean,
and I
is
do
it like
use a level.
a
I mean, we're,
16th of
we're
an
not,
inch, an eighth of an inch, or
yeah,
what do you think?
yeah, 16th or so.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a gold tip might be a little over that 16th, and the ultra is the 16th to not quite a 16th, and that's how I set those up, and then I find out they're what. So we find out what the arrow length needs to be. We get arrows cut off, and then fletch them up, and then people, in my opinion, they get way too hung up on paper tuning. Um, there's several schools of thought on paper tuning, and paper tuning to me is a good place to start. It's a good reference point. It's a good place to start. And with my ultra arrows, uh, paper tuning has become a thing of the past. Really, uh, I fletch them up. I will shoot one through paper to see how it does, and I know that the rest of them are going to be right there doing the same thing
Yep.
because that's how the ultra arrows do. And I have tested that on several occasions, just to prove the theory correct, and the theory is correct. With ultra arrows, that's all we do, and so I try to get the customer set up in that aspect, and then if they're really dead set on paper tuning everything, then that's what we do. But I've had several customers where I've been like, hey, I know you want to paper tune every arrow, but why don't we try this? And I try to sell them on trying something new to them, which is group tuning. And to me, the group tuning is the final and end result. And because you could have a dozen arrows, but you might have one or two that you're like, these just aren't as good as these other 10. And
Well, wouldn't you also say that, and maybe I'm wrong, you see more of it than I do, but the average guy, like I said, he puts his bow away when season ends and doesn't touch it for 8 months. He probably can't do 5 shots in a row that are 100% the same anyway, where paper tuning would even be effective, would it?
oh yeah, no, that is absolutely right. They can't do. I don't know that some of them can do 2 shots in a row. That's correct.
Yeah.
And
The
I
grip
have
changes, the
taken
torque changes.
uh,
Yeah, something.
if you change one thing in the grip, in the way you're holding the release. I mean, just the way you're holding it. If it's a handheld release, just the way you're holding the release can affect what happens in the paper. And I have proven that to myself because I have gripped my bow different ways. I have used my release in different ways. And I definitely guarantee you can control how that paper is going to tear. Uh, because if you change one of those things, the paper tear is different. It has to all be the same every time. And there's
Okay.
lots of guys that just can't do that.
So is it also true that if you get, let's just say you get a tear left on one shot and a tear right on the next shot, that's 100% the shooter, or is that a bow problem or a potential bow problem?
Well, if it's one way one time, one way the other time, I'm going to look at the shooter.
Okay.
Uh,
So
but
how
now
many
if we have
times, say, how many times does a customer say, well, there's something wrong with my bow because I'm shooting good?
about every time, just about every time.
Yep.
Oh, there's something wrong with my bow, and I'll be like, well, here, let me see it. Now I'm a lefty, so for me to shoot a right-handed bow sometimes is a little awkward, and so I will shoot the bow multiple times through paper and show them, well, here's the tear I got, and I got it 3 times in a row. So there's nothing wrong with the bow. And you have to
Do
be able
you,
to
I was gonna
face
say,
the
do
fact that
you use, okay, do you, we got a little bit of an audio drag here. Sorry, I'm not trying to talk over you. Um, do you use that as a teaching moment or a coaching moment for the guy shooting his bow that can't get a tear the same way every time?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. At that moment in time, uh, you're no longer fixing the bow. You're trying to fix the shooter and help the shooter with form. Um, and I don't mean to be bad about this, but men are the worst because we don't make mistakes. We're
Yep.
perfect. We
I,
know what we're
yep.
doing, and
I know
you
what I'm
don't need to
doing.
tell
Right.
me how to shoot a bow. Where a female, um, they just listen better, and
Yep.
they take more of the information in, and you can send a female home and tell her to practice this, every day, and when she comes back, you can tell she's been practicing that every day. Where the male, eh, he may have and he may not have, and that's just the way it is because I mean we're males. We're doing it right to start with. What do we need to be taught? And absolutely, yeah, I'm the dominant thing. I don't need to be taught. Well, sometimes we do, but it's how you're willing to take that information and process it and learn from the information that we've been told and taught. That's what makes us grow as a shooter.
Yep. Or you get the guy that's like, well, I've been shooting bows for 30 years. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've shot a
Yep.
total of 25 shots a year for the last 30 years.
Right. Yep. Yep. So you just have to be willing to learn and listen. So when I get them out there and we group tune, um,
Explain
that's
group
where they
tuning. Talk about that a little bit more.
well
For anybody
the
listening that don't know what group tuning is, what's your define that?
so I'm going to shoot a group at 20 yards. I'm going to take my arrows and I'm going to go shoot a group at 20 yards, and I want to see where they hit. And then then I'm going to go back to 60 yards and I'm going to shoot those same arrows at 60 yards. And your group tuning can be like this, and then you want it to shrink down, and you do that by shooting those groups and by adjusting your bow at those distances, not 3 feet in front of a piece of paper. Like I said, the piece of paper is a great place to start. It's a great starting point, but the group tuning will do much better in the long run. And that's what we're after. We're after long run and staying stride with what we're doing.
So what would you say is one of the biggest key elements to help with group tuning? Let's assume the shooters being consistent. We'll give them benefit of the doubt here for a minute. Shooters being consistent. Is it arrow rest adjustment? Is it maybe a D-loop adjustment or a peep sight adjustment? Or what do you
It could
think
be,
normally?
well, it could be a multiple facet of things. It could be the the spine of the arrow. Maybe they're shooting too heavy or too light of an arrow. That could affect group tuning. Micro adjusting your rest. So I think ultimately you have to put all those things together and use all those tools that are provided to us in order to get the best group and group tuning. Not just one thing. I think you have to use it all. Like your peep setting, the height of your peep. So in the senior known pro class, our maximum right up to this year was 50 yards. Okay. So most of the time our shots are going to be around 44 or 45 yards. That's where I'm going to set my peep height at, is at that distance. I want full view. And the 50 yard is an adjustment that you're going to make, versus close is an adjustment you're going to make. But for optimum performance, I want my peep set at that 44 yard mark or so, because that's where most of our shots are taking place at. So when you come into indoors and you start shooting indoors, we shoot 20 yards. That's it. I move my peep so that at 20 yards, it's full view. Everything's centered up nice, and you don't make an adjustment because you're only going to shoot 20 yards all the time. And so that's what you need to do as a hunter is, where your stand location is at. You know what the terrain is. Okay, I can make my 40-yard shot. This is going to be my maximum shot. But probably, more than likely, most of my shots are going to be at 33 yards in this area right here. So that's where I would want to set my peep height at, and not get too small. I think people get hung up on peep size. Make for sure that you're not getting too small of a aperture in there. Especially for hunting, we want as large as aperture as possible, because we're going to be shooting in low light conditions, early morning, late in the evening. And we want to have the most light coming through that aperture that we can possibly get into our eyes, so that we have a clear view and clear line of sight. So I try to get them to do those things. And ultimately, whenever they do see the group tuning, they're like, oh, this is much better. And they seemed pleased. So, and if we want to know more about group tuning, then ultimately you call Paige Pierce and you say, hey, I need some help with this.
Yeah, she's got some good YouTube videos out there too on that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Very, very good information. And she's always been willing to take my call and talk to me and help me. She has always been willing to do that. And same thing with Tim. He's always taken my call And, sometimes we end up talking about other stuff, but always willing to help because people want to see you succeed.
Yep.
Because the top competitor can't be at the top by themselves. They have to have the competition in order to have a top competitor. So you want your competition to succeed as well, or at least I do. I want
I
competition to
absolutely do.
succeed.
I want to beat somebody when they're on their best day, not because they're having because they're sick or their bow isn't working right, or I want to beat them at their best.
Yep, yep. No,
All right, so you've done some group tuning. If that's good, is you normally send the customer on their way? Is there something else you're going to check out or look at?
no. You make for sure the timing's correct. I like to have on my personal stuff. Uh, I shoot everything pretty much dead even. Uh, there
As
are
in
some,
top and bottom cam hitting the
yeah,
stops at the same time.
yep, top and bottom cam, same time.
Yeah,
There are
if
some different
anybody's
experiments.
if anybody's listening and don't know what the timing is, that's what we're talking about. You can draw your bow back, have somebody look at it for you, or put it in the draw board at a shop with a bow press. But yeah, it's when you get the full draw that your top and bottom stops, both touch the string at the same time. That's the timing.
Yep. And some people shoot to where they have one hit just a little before the other, and that just has to do with them holding the bow, whether they tend to drop the bow or raise the bow, and just depends on how they want that set for themselves.
Now, is that something you see with your typical bow hunter?
No, because normally they don't know anything about timing. I would say that well, maybe a couple of years ago they didn't really know about timing, but I think that there's more information out there than we've ever had uh, in the world because of YouTube, and so now they do know about timing, and I'm not saying they know how to adjust it all the time, but that information is now relatively available. So
Yeah, I would say my
they're
first
asking.
25 years of bow hunting, I didn't know what tuning a bow was. I didn't know what timing was. I didn't really understand arrow spine that much. Um, you just grabbed your bow and you went out and you went hunting.
That's right. We went. We shot.
We
I mean,
went
I
and shot,
remember
yeah.
back in. Yeah,
But
that's
then you
right.
also
I
had that.
remember back.
How come that? Why didn't that work right? Now
No,
I
that's
know.
very true. Yeah, and people will tell you that you can't do things. Oh, well, that can't be done. Or um, I remember back in it would have been 1994 or five, somewhere in that time frame, and I was shooting. I shot a bow. I mean, I hunted, and even back then, I did shoot a little bit of competition. And I remember shooting a arrow that was about 25 inches long and had a 1.5-inch vein on it with a fixed blade Muzzy broadhead. And I was told there was no way that I could get that arrow to fly. Well, I had a friend of mine stand behind me, and we fletched them in white so that you could see them really well. And I was at 100 yards, and I said, I'm really having a hard time seeing these things fly. Uh, Tell me what you see. He was like, man, those things are on a rope. And I shot multiple arrows like that. So I was doing that back then. And now, I mean, I'm a short draw length guy. I shoot a carbon shaft that's 24 and 3/8 carbon to carbon. And I have to know how to get those things to fly. So, with that being said, sometimes in my shop, it does enable me to help get things to fly that most people are like, well, you can't get that to fly. Well, yeah, we can because we're going to tune our bow to our arrow. And if that's the arrow the guy wants to shoot, 9 times out of 10, you can get it to tune to that. You have to work with the pieces that you have and make the puzzle fit, and it will work. You can get it to work. I mean, because when I went to so I before I shot for ultra arrows, I've shot for Tim for gold tip, and my gold tips were 24 and 3/8. My 27s were 24 and 3/8 carbon to carbon. People are like, "There's no way you can get that to fly." Absolutely no. And well, I got them to fly, and they flew very well. I might add, they performed very well. And same thing with my ultra arrows. They're 24 and 3/8 carbon to carbon, and I know what they do. They fly fantastic. They're short, but I tuned my bow to my arrow, and I don't have a choice on my arrow. I'm 52 years old. My arms are not going to grow. I'm not going to mysteriously grow in height. I mean, I wish the good Lord would have gave me a little height and a little arm length, but He didn't. He took my hair and gave me short arms. I mean, what can I say? And my dad's the same way. He's short, and that's just the way it is. So I don't have anything to do that. I have to learn how to tune and shoot those short arrows, and that's what I've done.
And it can be done.
Oh, it
So
can be done.
what is your choice of broadheads?
Well, Smith Brothers, Jordan at Smith Brothers has come out with a new broadhead, and
Oh, really?
it's not a mechanical. Oh yeah, yep.
I shoot
I just
the
I just
Smith
happen to have
Brothers.
them right here.
Okay.
These
I shoot
these
the
are
Smith
the
Brothers for ASA, but I didn't know they had
yes,
broadheads.
and so
Hopefully they're listening.
get this to where you can see it here.
Yeah,
So this
if anybody's listening to this podcast, I will post this on YouTube also. Oh,
so
that's
this is
interesting.
the yep, and they call it the Doom, and this is actually 100 grain point, and I actually have that on my Ultra 166 with Q2i 1.5 inch vane. So
So you're four fletched also.
I am four fletched with my hunting shaft. Now for 3D season and for indoors, I don't do that. Uh, and honestly, I didn't think I was going to do it for hunting season. I just happened to have these fletched up and ready to go, and I thought, oh well, I'll throw them together and see how they work. I literally put this broadhead on, and I shot it through paper to see what my starting point was, and it made a perfect hole. And I was like, well, that was accidental, but I'll take it. And so this is a 100 grain point. But the unique thing about the new Smith Brothers Doom point is the blades, you can actually take them off and switch them for right or left helical.
Oh, really?
Yep. And that, so that's a unique feature. So now your vanes and your broadhead are not fighting against each other, one trying to turn one way and the other. Now they're going to turn simultaneously the same direction with ease, and ultimately you should get better broadhead flight out of that. And so far, the testing that I've done with them, they're fantastic. So we'll see if
So one of the earlier comments you made though is we owe it to the animals to be as precise as we can and an ethical kill.
yes,
I get frustrated with the guy that he's got a great bow, he's got good arrows, and he's shooting a broadhead that he's had for 15 years that the blades are bent, they're rusty. Um, that's good enough. And the only my frustration again. It's just my personal opinion on this. I mean, but it is a fact that the only part of everything we do in archery, the only part that's going to kill that animal is the broadhead.
Yep.
And I don't care if it's a mechanical, I don't care if it's a fixed blade. I think everybody should have their blades as razor sharp as possible and your arrows tuned as possible so your arrow is flying straight and your arrow's not coming in on a goofy angle. And you know
Mm-hmm.
why did I mean, there's so many hunting videos you see on TV. I actually quit watching. How many shows do you see where they shoot an animal, you know, just majestic beast, and they get 3 inches of penetration, and they turn and look at the camera and they go smoked him. I'm
Yeah.
like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're only getting 3 inches of penetration on a whitetail. The whitetail's not that tough of an animal.
Yep.
Yes, they're
Or
tough, but
or
they're
they
not.
shoot it in the gut, and you're like, "Oh, just
Yeah,
smoked him." Well, no, you
smoked
didn't.
him.
You shot him in the gut.
But even on a gut shot, they still got, you know, 3/4 their arrow shaft hanging out, and it's like, come
Yep.
on. And I don't know if that has to do with the broadhead they're shooting. I don't know if that's again a bow not tuned properly or an arrow not tuned properly. I don't know what's going on, but man, I get
Well,
frustrated when I see that kind of stuff. And
I mean,
and
it comes
I
down to
I
kinetic energy.
personally, yeah, it does. I mean, it's a
I mean,
combination somewhere in there.
let's look at probably the. I mean, I'm the only one I can compare kinetic energy with. So Tim Gillingham. I mean, look at the kinetic energy that his arrows are achieving downrange. Way more kinetic energy than mine are. So
Yeah,
someone like
for anybody
that
that
is.
don't, yeah, for anybody that don't know Tim, what was he got, like a 33 inch or something
I,
draw length, 32 and a half,
I believe it's 32 and a half or 33. Yeah. Uh,
and he
it's retarded.
probably shoots 70 pounds or more.
I don't know what Tim is shooting. I really don't know the answer to that.
But
Uh,
just the
all I
and
know
I
is when his 27s go in the target. Well, actually, when he shoots, I mean they sing. They've got a particular sound to them, and when they go in the target, I mean they're in the target. Mine you can pull out, and his you've got to get a hold of. So there is a difference there. So someone like that who produces a lot of, and his arrows weigh a lot. So they're producing that kinetic energy because of the arrow weight and the fact that they will hold that speed downrange, which in turn uh, saves that kinetic energy. Where me, you know, I don't have that kinetic energy to start with, so I'm going to need to practice and make for sure that my shot placement is on the money every time.
amen. Yep.
Where someone that produces a lot of kinetic energy, yes, they still need to practice and they need to make the perfect shot every time. But if something happens and there's a bad shot, or maybe they caught just a little bit of that front shoulder blade, that kinetic energy is going to help that arrow do what it needs to do. Where mine, on the other hand, it hits that and it might bounce out. I mean, I hate to say that, but obviously it's not going to bounce out. But I'm just saying
No, they can
you're not
deflect
going to get the
pretty
same
easy.
result.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, you're not gonna achieve the same result. So that's why I say people need to be practicing. Set up that target in the yard. Um, if you live in town and you got your privacy fence, set that target up and shoot a few arrows every night. I'm not saying you need to shoot 100 arrows every night. I'm saying go out there and shoot 20 or 30 arrows every night and become familiar with your equipment. I mean, basically, you need to become one with your equipment because it's an extension of you. And the arrows that you can shoot help that process, and then it just becomes second nature. Hey, I'm in my anchor point. I know it because I feel it. You're not searching around for it, or does this feel right, or is my grip right? It's automatic. It's second nature to you. So Uh, we always kid around a little bit in 3D stuff, or even sometimes in indoor stuff. Oh, practice is overrated, you know. And in the archery hunting world, practice is definitely not overrated. Uh,
Nope.
People need to do more of it.
So
So,
let me back up a little bit here too. So your customer has group tuned, everything is going well. Is that with field points, or do you have them do that with the broadheads they'll be using?
well, first we're going to do it with field points, and then we're going to do it with broadheads,
Okay,
because
that's what I was wondering is how many people do you get to actually take some practice shots with their broadhead and then
you'd be surprised a
resharpen the
lot of people
broadhead
don't.
and or what's that?
They don't practice with their broadhead,
No,
or
they don't.
or they shoot it, or they're shooting that particular broadhead for practice, and that's the broadhead they take to the woods with them.
Yeah, they don't
Well, we're just
resharpen it.
shooting
They don't do.
foam. No, well, that foam still is dulling your broadhead.
Oh,
Uh, it's not meant to be like that. You need to sharpen them. A lot of people, they just put their equipment away and they get it out next year, and their broadheads are rusty. Like you said, they're rusty, they're dull. They should perform well. Well, no, you put it away and it's rusted. You don't. Hopefully, you don't put your gun in the gun safe
yeah.
and not care for it. You oil it down and you take care of it before you put it in the gun safe. And
I I like
same
the
way
guy
with
that
broadheads.
takes a pair of pliers and he straightens out his mechanical broadheads and puts them in his quiver and heads to the woods.
Yeah, yeah, and I have seen
I
that.
shot, shot a deer with that
You
one
have a
last.
broken blade off of it, and,
Yeah,
oh, it'll shoot.
I
It'll
don't.
still. Yeah, no,
Actually,
that's not how they're meant to perform.
that is the only part that kills the animal. That fancy
That's it.
bow, that fancy pickup truck, that all those expensive arrows, that expensive lease that you have, that fancy camouflage clothing, none of that kills the deer.
None of it. None of it. It's only that broadhead and your shot placement. Those are the two things that harvest that animal. Uh, all the other stuff is just assisting you to get that trophy that you're looking for on the ground.
Yep.
I mean, I got tickled yesterday. I was watching a video on Facebook, and it was a hunting video, and the guide is in, full camo, and the person he's hunting is in, or guiding is in, blue jeans and a blue t-shirt. And I'm like, well, how's this work out? So, did that hunter take it serious? I don't know. You know, uh, I mean, and
Yeah.
and the cost of things have gotten just ridiculous.
Can't afford to make mistakes.
No, no, we can't, and we only get to go. It's not our job, so we're not doing it every day. We don't get to go out there every day. Um, Now, if you ask my wife, uh, she would probably disagree with that statement, because usually about this time of year is when I start using up all my uh, overtime stuff. So I don't get paid overtime. I get to bank my overtime, and this is usually the time of year that Doug disappears.
That's right.
But
Uh,
there's lots of worse things we could be doing. You know,
that's for
uh,
sure. Well, man,
and
I don't
now
want
it's a
to eat up.
little.
Uh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, now it's difficult. I mean, we've got a 16-year-old, and he's really into fishing, and he's really good with a bow. Loves to shoot traditional archery as well, and he's really really good with a longbow. Um, I don't want to shoot a longbow because I couldn't hit a side of a building with the thing, but he's really good with it, and you know I try to encourage him to do stuff, but he's he's just really gotten into fishing, and fishing is his life. He's fish. He's painting fishing baits, crankbaits, topwater lures. Um, we got home from the ASA Classic. Uh, I got home at I don't know. It was about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and Sunday morning at 5:30 out of bed, and we were headed to Michigan, going fishing.
Oof.
So we went and spent a couple of days on Lake St. Clair. So you know, by saying that is you have to do other things to clear your mind, and this is the time of year that the target archer takes a break and clears their mind. Uh, and that's what we're doing. Uh, because you're in it every day, especially, um, you know, indoor season will start in December. So you just have a short window of what I call downtime,
Yep.
mental downtime. And you have to have the mental downtime in order to be at the top of the game, because you're mentally, like for indoors stuff, we're only mentally in the game for a short period of time. We're only mentally in it for the time that we're standing there shooting those 3 arrows or 5 arrows. So for the 3 minutes, that's it. So then we walk back, and there's no telling what goes on behind the line. We're telling jokes, and there's no telling. But mentally, for those 3 minutes, you have to be in it, and it is tiring and stressful. And same way with ASA, you have to be mentally aware of what's going on all the time, and so it is tiring. So that's why, I mean, that's why we take our breaks. That's what we do. What we do. I mean, I started my shop because there was a shop in Springfield that was one of the best places to go to, and uh, they shut down. They basically closed their doors because they didn't want to compete with prices on the internet. Um, you know,
Mm.
people buy things off of Amazon. I There's things on Amazon that's for sale cheaper than I can buy them as a shop through Lancaster or any of my dealers that I purchase stuff from. And I don't know how they do it. And that's the reason they closed their shop. And I was like, we need a pro shop to go to. Someone in the area that just concentrates on archery, setting up bows, and giving what I call a pro hometown feeling. When you walk in the shop, you are it. You have my full attention, and I'm not doing anything but what you ask. And you don't get that in places anymore, and that's
Nope.
why I started my shop, because that's what I wanted to do. If my customer calls me on Sunday, which has happened on more than one occasion, hey, when can I come over? I'm like, hey, I'm here right now. If you want to come over right now, come on over and I'll help you out. So to me, that's the relationship that we have to have. Where a lot of the bow shops, they're closed on Sunday and Monday, and they're open from noon to 8, and that's it. And don't bother them after that or before that.
Yep.
And that's not the way I want to be. If you have a problem, I want to be able to help you. And so that's kind of why I started my shop.
Well, hey, give your business a little plug here. Throw out your information, your contact information and stuff.
It's Kyle's Custom Arrows and Archery Supply, and I'm located in Bucyrus, Missouri, which is north and east of Mountain Grove, around Plato Success area. I'm actually, if you drew an arrow due east of Springfield, you would run across my building. It's 90 miles. And 417 861 1128 gets you directly to me. And
Cool.
I want to help people because I want to see them succeed, and that's what makes our sport grow. And getting youth involved and helping. You don't see a lot of shops that help the kids, or they don't want to put the time into the kids because they're like, oh, well, the child's not going to buy anything. They may not right then, that's right. But later on, whenever they get a full time job and they're out here purchasing archery equipment, they're going to remember that you helped them out and you helped them succeed, and they're going to come back and see you. And that's what it's
Yep.
about, because that's what makes our sport grow. Because without the youth involved, archery or any shooting sport for that matter is not going to go anywhere.
Hey, do you have a website?
No, I do not have a website.
Okay.
I've contemplated on getting a website. I just never have done it
Okay.
because I'm a little old school. Technology and I sometimes don't see eye to eye. And people that know me very well know that I'm going to call you rather than text you.
There you go.
So I'm just, that's just the way I am. I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. So, yeah.
Well, do you have any other sponsors or anybody you want to give a shout out to before we end this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without Elite. I mean, the people at Elite, Darren Christianberry especially. I mean, what an outstanding man.
He is a great guy.
Great. Just fantastic. Does what he can to help you, guaranteed. Of course, I'm on Alter Arrows staff now. I was early this year, started that. And I even when I made the switch, yeah, we're professionals, but there's also what I consider professional courtesy. And I was on Gold Tip's team. The funny thing is, I mean, we talked about it a little earlier. I guess I'll bring it up because there's me, Douglas, Kyle, and then obviously you have Kyle Douglas, and people get it confused all the time.
I don't know why.
I mean, I have no idea, because there's an old version and a young version, and the young version is just a absolute animal at shooting a bow, where the old version struggles. So but I mean, even the main events, like at Lancaster and Vegas, they've even gotten us confused and had us standing with the wrong group of people. And so it was at the Iowa Pro-Am last year. Kyle and I both had 600 rounds, and so Tim got us together and was like, well, here's the two Kyle Douglases and Douglas Kyle, and he did something about the Gold Tip, both of us having 600 rounds. So I was, so to me, when I had the opportunity to go to Alter Arrows, first thing I did was I picked up the phone and I called Tim, and I said, hey, you and I are good friends, and I have the opportunity to go to Ultra, and I don't want to step on your toes or make you upset. And I would like to know how you feel about that. And he appreciated the courtesy phone call and the conversation we had, and it was great. And, I went to Alter Arrows. So with that, I got Alter Arrows, X Focus 365. What a fantastic company. Fantastic people to deal with. I've met them personally at Vegas and out in California. They're just great people, and they make a great product. When I shoot a 7 power, and there's lots of times on an ASA target, I can see the rings. I see exactly what I want to be shooting at. Doesn't mean I hit it all the time, but
at least you can see it. That's all that
but
matters.
I can see it. And that's what makes it even worse, is I was like, man, I could see that great. Why didn't I hit it? Well, it's not the equipment or anything. It's just me. That's all it is.
If you can't see it, you definitely don't have a chance.
Oh, no. If you can't see it, there's no chance. You're not going to have a chance at all.
I mean, you can get lucky.
And that's,
but,
yeah. I mean, and that's why 365. See it, hit it. I mean, it's fantastic. It's great. I got True Ball, Excel. I shoot their bars. I've been shooting their releases, and of course this year and last year I shot their sight system. This year I was shooting the Pro, and everything worked out well with that. And then I got Q2i, great vanes, great manufacturer, Hamsky, and of course with Hamsky, their new weight system for stabilizers is
Yep.
fantastic. I mean, I
Very
run a
slick.
lot of weight. I've got 15 ounces out front and 33 in the rear, and so it's great to be able to stand on the line or on a practice line and just take those magnet weights and switch them in and out. It's just seconds and you're done rather than messing with a whole screw
Yep.
system. So I do like that, and then there's some opportunities that I've got coming up this year. Steve at Bowfinger,
Hmm.
I'm going to get to do that, and I've been playing with it a little bit. You know, a machinist making a bow sight. I'm really impressed with what he has put out there. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go. Uh, you know, they're all great companies, and that's what we as pros need to. We want to represent them in a great manner because they are putting money. It may not be an actual check that they're writing to you, but they're giving you equipment, and that stuff isn't cheap, and so you want to be able to represent them in the best manner possible. And that's I think we were talking about earlier. Wearing your feelings on your sleeves, and I do wear my feelings on my sleeves because I want to be a top competitor, and you know I have to work hard not to do that, and but I think if you are, I mean, we're competitors, so you're not happy unless you're on the top,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
some of
There's
us just wear some of us
winners
just
and
show
there's
it a little more.
participants.
Yeah, right, right. And some of us just show our emotions a little worse than others, and so I do try to work on that because I want my uh, sponsors to be proud that I'm on their team, and I think some people put too much into the shooting part of it, uh,
Yep.
because you also need to help and represent them when you're at these events. Whether it be helping at their booth, or people are asking what equipment are you shooting, and there's lots of times I'm on the practice line and somebody will say something about the equipment and I just stop doing what I'm doing, especially the new Hamsky weight system. Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I stop what I'm doing and I show them. Show them how it sets up, how easy they are to work with, and lots of times I'll see them again and they have the Hamsky weight system on their bow. I'm like, that works great on your stabilizers, doesn't it? And they really love it. So I think it's important that we do represent our companies in an outstanding way. So
All
I
right.
could talk
Well,
forever. I mean,
well, I'm gonna get you back on. We'll do this again sometime because you've been fun to talk to. Like I said, prior to this conversation, I met you, on the, I guess it was at London this year, at the practice range is where I first met you at
it
this year.
was.
And
Yes, sir.
yeah, it was a pleasure. I mean, like I said, I knew who you were. You had no idea who I was. You still may not know who I am, and that's okay. Uh, but man, you're a great guy. I appreciate you. And then learning about your skeet world championships. And I come from a collegiate coaching background in the shotgun world, and man, we know so many of the same people, and it's a small world.
We,
And
we do, and there's lots of things that do come over from the shooting sports or from the shotgun world into the
yep,
archery, especially the mental game. Um, it was the very first time I went to the NFA, the outdoor nationals. The very first time I went, I had no idea how treasured and prized the silver bowls are. Had no clue, and I just shot. That's all I did. I just shot, and I want a silver bowl. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's." At first, I didn't really. I was like, "Oh yeah, I won. Okay, great." And then I've come to find out these things are really sought after, and it's like one of the top deals for people to get. And I'm like, "Well, wow, I didn't have no idea." Now, if I had known how big a
yep,
deal it was, it probably wouldn't be sitting over here in my trophy case because I'd have been like, "Oh, it's gonna." So sometimes it's good not to know what something is really sought after, uh, and then there's other times you just because you're in the sport, so you know how prestigious it is to win. I mean, I haven't won an ASA yet. Uh,
yeah, it will.
I want too bad. I mean, and I've been close, at least in the top five. But uh, I mean, I feel like I'm knocking on the door. I just got to get it done. I've been close at a few indoor tournaments. I mean, this year in Iowa, uh, at the Iowa Pro Am, I took second, and uh, Lynn and we actually got in a shoot off, and Lynn and I do room together. We have been rooming together at the ASAs here lately, so. We were walking down to the target, and I said, "Man, Lynn, all you got to do is hit the middle, and you'll beat me all the whole way." And you can't play mind games with Lynn. I mean, he's going to come back at you with something. And later on, he said something to me, and I was like, "I was just telling you to hit in the middle because that's how you were going to beat me." you know, uh, Sometimes you do say things, and it is a mind game, but you know that's why you got to be on your mental side of things.
Yep.
But the whole archery community is great. There's fantastic people. They want you to succeed. They want to help you to succeed. And I encourage anyone that thinks that you're not good enough to be a pro. That's not true, because we're all good enough. I'm a prime example. I didn't I didn't know if I was good enough to be a pro or not either. But I made the leap, and I'm very honored to say that I'm a professional archer. And we all have it in us. We just have to dig deep enough to get it out. And once you get it out, it can be an animal, but we have to learn to control it. And uh, it's great because there's people that are willing to help you with that, and they want to see you succeed. And I've got Mike Holbert. We talk every day, and usually we talk about archery. We start out talking about archery, but then who knows what we're gonna talk about. Uh, you know, we may talk about fishing or what's going on in the world or how we think we could save the
Yep.
world today. But that's the type of people you meet. It's just a great community. Archery is a great community, and I wouldn't trade
Oh,
any
I
of it
love
for
it.
anything.
I love it, man. I wish there was some way that every just average guy goes out and bow hunts. I wish there was some way that every one of those individuals would get out and go to at least one 3D tournament. And 'cause I promise anybody that's listening to this has never been to a 3D tournament, if you take it even a little bit serious and try to do your best at a 3D tournament, you will be a better bow hunter, guarantee.
Oh,
And I'm not
absolutely.
talking a
It
better
will.
bow hunter like you're going to be able to, get closer to a deer. I'm talking like your confidence in your shot placement is just, man, you just get so much better, so much
Oh,
better.
absolutely. And I really believe that I mean, I may be wrong, uh, but if I understand correctly, that's why 3D was created because
Yeah, yeah,
people wanted to get better at their bow hunting, so they created those events, and look what it's turned into now. I mean,
yeah. It's the
I've
best thing I've done in my life is get involved with ASA and just the people I've met. I mean, you and I would have never met if I'd never gone to a 3D tournament kind of thing. And
no
here we are
right,
sitting
yeah,
here having a big long shoot the bull session.
no,
We've
it's all
actually been
good. I mean,
talking
that's
for
what
about
it's
2 hours,
about,
man. So all of
but
it
that's
has
what it's
not
about.
been recorded, but this has been so great, and it's just the people you get to meet, and again, it's just you've nailed it. Everybody just tries to help their competitor and wants everybody to be the better your competition gets, the better you get.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what drives the individual. When I was shooting skeet with Wayne and Todd, uh, I guarantee you they're going to help you because they want to see you succeed because that drives them to be even that
Yep,
better.
yep,
I don't know how Wayne could get any better because he was the best, he was the greatest, and but he would also stop what he was doing and take time out to help you become a better shooter. And so I've tried to take a lot of what he did with me, helping me in the game, into my archery stuff. And if someone wants help or needs help, I'm hey, I want to help you because that's just going to help our sport
yep.
grow. And you know, maybe someday you'll be standing there. I mean, I've give skeet lessons. I've taught skeet lessons to an individual that I actually thought was going to make the U.S. Olympic team, and uh, he got old enough and discovered girls.
That happens too.
His his skeet shooting career come to an end. I don't know what happened, but
Uh,
he was
you can
that
always
good,
get
and
back into it, but
he can and he will because he went to
yeah,
Colorado and he shot out there at the facility in Colorado, and it's fantastic. But that's what makes our community grow is people like that.
yes,
Because
absolutely.
he started out in 4-H shooting, and that's what how these kids start out. Then they get into uh, the more advanced part of it, and that's just what keeps our sport growing. All shooting sports. That's how they start out, and now we've got NASP in schools.
Yep.
Um, we didn't have those programs when I went to school,
Nope.
and what a great organization and program to get in our school system. And I've got kids that I have helped and love to help. When I go cutters shot for the 4-H program in our county here for a while, and when I would go, I loved to help those kids because they're sponges and they just take your information, and I don't know that they ever miss a word, and they want to do better, and then you're helping them, and that's what counts is giving back to the sport.
Yep. And that's what I'm all about. That's the reason we started this podcast. It's all about the education side of it. It's not there's no other reason behind it. I love archery and the outdoors so much and hunting so much. The people I've met, I just love this so much that I want to share and help educate anybody else. I don't care if you're like you've mentioned, the kid is learning how to shoot a bow for the first time. Um, Most pros are not going to listen to this podcast and learn a lot from it. But the average bow hunter or the average person wanting to get into archery or is into it and just having some struggles. Yeah, I'm all about the education side of it. As a person who's been coaching for many years between shotgun shooting and archery coaching at the collegiate level, yeah, that's just who I am. Even prior to that, I was a firefighter. My entire life has been about helping people.
Yep.
And that's why we
Yep.
do this. We're having a fun conversation, but at the same time, I'm hoping somebody hears this and a light bulb clicks somewhere, or they just reach out and ask questions, and we'll give them the answers.
Oh, absolutely, and you're right. I mean, you were a firefighter, you retired, and your whole career you helped people. Uh, Most people don't know. I mean, I retired from law enforcement, and that's what you're doing. You're helping
Yeah,
people, and every encounter that you have with someone, whether it be good or bad, 9 times out of 10 you could turn it into a good encounter because you took that moment as an educational moment and you showed them how to be a better person
yep,
and then hopefully not be in that same situation again.
yep, yep,
And that's you don't teach that. It's something that you just have that you want to get out and be able to help people and help teach people.
yep,
And that's just the way we are. And I love helping people.
yep. Me too. So anyway, Doug, I really appreciate you, man, and we'll get you back on again sometime. This has been really good. I really appreciate you.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to get out to the people and get some of our sponsors in the spotlight as well. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have archery at all.
That's exactly right. So anyway, Doug, we
So thank you
appreciate
very
you.
much.
Thanks again. Yeah. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Doug.
All right, thank you.